Hello and welcome back to Astro Colony. In our last episode, which has been about a week now, we continued expanding a bit of our technology here. I think we set up cows, and that led to milk and hot milk. And then we also set up tomatoes, which led to tomato soup. I think we'd already done these here. So we only have a few more technologies to go. And in the time since, and we'll come back to this in a moment, in the time since the last episode, a large part of what I did was just let the base kind of run and gather materials. This is kind of where a lot of games get to in the end, where you're kind of limited by how much stuff you can gather, how much your throughput is. You could definitely expand some, but in the end, it's just a kind of a repetitive expansion just to get squeak a couple more things through. And especially if you consider what I'm going to show you in a minute with the technologies, it's not really that worth it. And as such, I think this is going to be our final episode, at least for this series. But I would like to come back to this game in the future and check it out. So, as you can see, I did redo these oxygen generators to add a second one in here. But as part of doing that, I moved them around a little. But as part of doing that, somehow the game has decided that they can no longer provide, or we can no longer request oxygen tanks here, regardless of how much we might want to try. So I don't know what that is. It's doing it. I don't know if maybe the bot just can't get to the side that it needs to be on to do the thing. We could test that out by deleting this one, for example. But now this one is completely accessible on all sides for the bot, and it doesn't care. So I don't know what happened. I tried turning on and off the request here. I tried deleting the bot and recreating it. Didn't help. I tried obviously deleting and re-adding these. Didn't help. Is that you? Yeah, it's you. So I'm not sure what I'm missing. Maybe there's something goofy here going on. I don't know. Could be a level of derp in the game. I'm not sure. One other thing that I've noticed is that these belts aren't fast enough for what we're trying to push across them, and that's just because I'm trying to push too much. But a different design would be warranted at that point, and I don't really want to rebuild the whole thing. At this point in time. A couple other things that I've noticed, although it's not doing it right now. Before I added this second oxygen container generator thing, this was stored at 200. It was full at 200, and it was still processing ice. As you can see, it's building up ice here. It's not even able to process ice fast enough for the consumption anymore. But for a while there, it was, and it was actually wasting ice. It was stuck at 200. You would see it not tick down, but you would see this thing easily tick through another one before it would. You could watch it here. It would still be at 200. This would tick through and start again, and it would never have gone down. So the game does not do any sort of limitations at all. And that's one thing I would like to see with the game is if the storage here is up to 200 and there's 200, then don't keep processing the ice. That's kind of wasteful. And it's not, people say that for Factorio or whatever games too, with factory games. Like, who cares if it's wasteful? It's, you're here to pollute. You're here to steal everything you can from this planet. But it's wasteful in terms of like the sort of the logic of the game, I feel. So it would be better, in my opinion, if it just simply paused the production of water from ice when there was no more storage to take it. And that kind of goes toward the whole, logistic storage and how much of each thing you produce that we've kind of gone through. Yes, of course, you can do those signals that we played with to limit. But, I have a ridiculous amount of iron. I have a ridiculous amount of iron bars and iron plate, rather. But what else am I supposed to use iron for? Iron rods? I have a ridiculous amount of those too. And then screws and gears. Iron wire, wherever that is nowadays. I don't even remember where that is. It might be here. I don't even know. Maybe up here. Actually, it's up here, yeah. I could have more iron wire, to be honest. But I have a ridiculous amount of everything. And yet, or some things, and yet I'm starving out on other things. Like carbon is still a problem. We just aren't getting enough carbon in. And yes, I can mine more from the planets, but again require a whole different logistics setup, because, like, for example, you can only get one. You can only get a slow belt through these tubes in each line. So then you're doing what I'm doing here by splitting and then recombining into a single fast belt. The other thing is, of course, the ice, which we don't have a problem with now. Ice is fine now. But if you wanted to mine ice here on the planet, like we were doing, the planetoid, then you had to move these miners around all the time. Quartz, the same thing. Actually, quartz is still a problem. Like, I ran out of food because, and I'll get to that in a moment, but I ran out of food, so I meant to make some more hydrotonic. And you can see now there's food again. And I made some more hydrotonic, but in order to make more hydrotonic, I had to feed more quartz. I had to go mine quartz manually, or I could have moved a miner, but I had to go mine quartz manually to have enough quartz to send into the hydrogen maker thing here to make some more hydrotonics. So you kind of get into those types of issues where you don't there are things you can't get that you need, and there are things that you have way too much of in order to get enough of other things, at least as a scale. I mean, we looked at the iron. The copper is also a ridiculous number. The gold, on the other hand, well, I think we have a ridiculous amount. Actually, we don't. So gold is actually fairly reasonable, I would say. I was dumping a little bit too much carbon into storage. I tweaked the numbers, of course, raw carbon, but the carbon fiber, I feel like having, a few dozen here is not a big deal, and I have the ratio tweaked accordingly. But copper wire, copper bars, copper plates, we just have so many, and I've spent so many of them on science, and we still have. Well, I don't know why the copper is not as prolific here, but we have thousands of them here in the engineering science, and we have thousands of engineering science, so it's not like we really need any more iron or copper for a long time. Same thing with chemistry. I mean, the iron rods aren't making it here very fast right now, but we have 383, I think that says, chemistry science, so we don't really need any more. Biology has been a problem, largely because of the oxygen requester stopped working, and then, of course, the carbon. I could feed... Wait, where do I have 1,600 carbon at? I guess maybe there's carbon someplace else that I don't know about. I have 1,600 carbon someplace. I should probably grab that and feed it into these makers, if we can find it. Here we have just a couple. That's fine. Is there some here on this level or something? No. But I have hundreds of titanium and uranium there. I think it was, or aluminum or somebody, that I just haven't processed yet. Oh, here it is. I don't know how it got here. Oh, it's just not... It just hadn't outputted all yet because it's going onto this slow belt. Okay, well, that's another potential thing. So I don't want this to sound like a complaining session, even though it does. Wait, where am I going here? Oh, you're here. Nope, not what I wanted. Shift click, split, go, and this will make a ridiculous number of these again. But there's just so much stuff. Yeah, we're getting carbon in faster than we can take it out here. And that's because of this ramp. It's slowing everything down, I think. Comparing this one to that. Yeah, we're not getting enough iron plates in here, so maybe I should tweak the iron plate ratio a little. Yeah, let's tweak that plate ratio a little bit. I think that's downstairs. One level. So, you can also see that I spent some of my iron plates here. Doing a little construction. Just a little. Let's do this instead. 2 ahead to storage, 1 to the side to make to go up and make the rods with. That'll give us a little bit more. Okay, so yeah, I built a bit of a structure here. I thought about it after I did this, and I didn't want to change it again, so I didn't. But I probably should have just pulled it out to these corners here. And here, etc., around, and just put the pillars in right there. I could still do it. I could take all the walls down, but I thought I'd leave these open so that I could pass through here, of course. So I left a little railing here just so that it looks kind of legitimate, and it does catch you if you fall. And then these panels as just kind of like I don't know, closing in the wall. If I were to close this in, I would do so with glass, I think, but I think that looks fine that way. One of the other things that I've noticed is the bots, especially these farmer bots, seem to like to derp out, and I don't know exactly why, but you can see there's a bunch of untended dirt over here, and there's mostly tomato plants growing, and in fact it's all tomato plants growing, which is why there was a decent amount of soup in there, because the tomato plants are growing. The bots there. And we have hydroponic, of course. I can't remember how much I made of it. But there's not that much wheat growing. And the bots are derping out trying to tend the wheat. I don't know if it's something to do with the layout that I have, or if there's something else going on. I've gone into the personnel thing for the current station and reassigned them so that they kind of reset their job. This one is fine. This is the one that's moving. The tomato bot, but because you can see it keeps changing its task here, I think. Maybe not, but they just seem to derp out too easily, and I'm not sure if that's the way I'm using them or if it's something to do with the game itself. But yeah, it's pushing them over there, and then they turn around and come right back in. It's a couple of miners that I think I sent in here that haven't come back. And then I have an extra farmer bot somehow, and I don't know how I did that, but I have an extra farmer bot. So now you can see they're working again, and they'll work for a while, and then they'll quit again. And I wasn't paying attention, and then all the food got jammed up, and that's why the hydroponic had to be made again. Let's see. Yeah, we're not getting enough wheat down here to make the things down here. The chickens, and you can see actually the chickens have overtaken the sheep space, or the pig space. Sorry. Which I don't really like either, but there's nothing to say, hey, you can have these spaces, you can have those spaces, and never the twain shall meet. They seem to just take whatever space they can. So hopefully we can, maybe see some change there too. I'm not sure how specifically to tell them to do it, other than to do it like this, where you completely separate them far enough that you don't have that they just it's too far for them to travel. The bots to travel, they don't scope that zone anymore. But there's no range defined that I could see anywhere either. So there's that. And these aren't actually keeping up. So maybe in fact we need to shift the ice ratio to send more over here and keep less here. So let's do like 3 to the left and 1 ahead. And I'm going to go steal this ice, or most of this ice rather, out of here. Let's do like that much of it. And then we'll go over here and drop those in the box. Oops, bang my head. Make myself a clothesline there. There. And the hydroponic came in, and the bot's keeping it filled in there up to 50. So the technology, that's the other thing here. So back to this. There are a lot of technologies here, but I was looking through them while the game was running. And the sunflowers are unusable. They're not used in the game yet, which makes some sense because they're here at the end of the thing. So, but you can't use the sunflower seeds for anything yet. Same thing with the wool; it's not usable for anything yet. Black holes, I don't know what that actually does, but if I were to unlock it, there's nothing here that it tells me it unlocks. So what does it do? Same thing with stargates. I don't know that they do anything yet. Advanced robotics would work because it lets you do that fabrication, that construction. That would help with the mining of the quartz and the stone and the ice. Presuming that it works like I would suspect, but I'm not sure if it does or not. We could probably test that out a little bit. Expert engines, just another engine. We have 2 levels. This is the 3rd level, so we could do this. They're not that expensive, I don't think. 80 bio, yeah, they're still a little expensive. I don't know why these require biology science either. Doesn't make any sense. And then fusion energy, we could start making polymers, and then feeding those into fusion generators. But this is another one of those. How long is it gonna help? It's here at the end of the game. You could build more, but kind of thing. And then finally, energy transmission. We talked about these. We didn't unlock them obviously yet, but we talked about them in either the last episode or the one before that, where they are just ways to send, say if you're having a large amount of energy production, on one planetoid or on your independent station here of fusion, for example, and you can beam the power from one to the next. Oh, we got some aired out bots over there. That recently happened because I've been keeping an eye on them. Yeah, so those are a couple things. So I think what we'll do is we'll unlock Advanced Robotics, and we'll take a look at these. I'd also like to look at energy transmission, at least briefly, like we did with the signals. And then I'm going to leave these two alone because I don't see the point in unlocking them, and they're just going to cost me points that I don't really have to spend, especially the biology ones. Actually, the space ones too. That's the other thing, is that space science costs aluminum, and we're just not getting that much aluminum in. There was a decent pile of aluminum, I thought, actually here. Wait a minute. Why is there so much aluminum bars here? Why are they not leaving? Why are they not leaving? Is it just that this belt is too full? Yeah. Yeah, this belt should be upgraded. We could do that, I suppose. Let's do it this way. You. And I think I can do it this way, too. Yep. And we could see maybe this would be causing a problem, too, but I don't know that it actually is, because most of it's going into storage. Or coming back this way to go into making plates. So, are we making too many aluminum plates? That's the other question. No, we don't have a ridiculous amount of aluminum. There's not a ridiculous amount in permanent storage. It was just backed up in here. And hopefully they will stabilize a little bit. I'm just going to take this whole supply down here and feed it in. And we'll get some space science going here. Yeah, we'll get 26, 27, 28, something like that out of it. Okay. Sorry, I needed to have a drink. So, I just talked for basically 15 minutes straight. Not that I don't normally, but without hardly a breath. I'm going to skip the extra engine tube. Other than looking at what they look like, I mean, they do look like they look pretty cool. But we're not going to move around again, so I'm not going to focus on it. And the fact that it costs 80 bio as well as 80 space is my I forget the word I'm trying to find here. I wanted to say impetus, but that's not it. Whatever. It's the reason why I'm not going to do it, just because of that large number of space in bioscience. So instead we'll unlock black holes, but we don't quite have the bio or the space science yet, and so we may not actually get to do it in this series, but I don't think there's anything hidden behind here. And then if we had it, we would do fusion energy as well. But let's go ahead and take a look at this advanced robotics and see what that entails. So we have, I think it's under device, or I assume it's under device. Remote fabricator. And what was the other thing? And the fabricator, which is a bot, I assume. On my head there. Hey, it says it's locked. Didn't I just unlock it? I did. So that's possibly broken as well. Maybe I need to build a fabricator first. Let's just build a fabricator. To construct remote devices. So let's pretend that we wanted to build one of these out here on this planet. Let's see, it takes in some resources and some power. We'll do it like this, maybe. Maybe right in there. And then it needs to have 3 fabricator drones. So let's go back over here and see. Yeah, it's still locked, so that's probably broken then. But it also may not be working anyway, even if it weren't broken. And the other thing is, it could be rather that something happened with this save, and it's caused some corruption with updates and things that have come out. I wouldn't be surprised at that either. I mean, that happens with all games in early states, and this one is still in an early state, so that could very well be. So let's look at the energy transmission instead. I'm assuming that's under utilities. Yes, here it is. So energy transmitter, energy receiver. I'm assuming these work just like those signal things do, and in fact, I'm just going to cheese it a little bit here by putting it down someplace where I can get at energy easily. Maybe even over here someplace. Yeah, like maybe right here. There's the transmitter. And then we can do a receiver here. And we're just going to put it out here, out of the way a little bit. And then, of course, we can get into this like this. And we can... F, there we go. And there we pointed at that, just like the signal thing. And Q to get out, there we go. And magically, we now have energy available here. 84 production. Is that like the surplus that I must have? This consumes 50 power to transmit. I'm slightly confused here. This consumes 50 power. It's 84% efficient. That makes me think that this is what the 84 comes from. Wait, it stores water? How does that? Why would that store water? That's weird. If we turn this down. 5% to 5. Yeah, I'm confused by how this is working. Now it's producing 5. Okay, there we go. Okay, so it's producing. Oh, it is 100. That's why it was 84, because it said it was at 50, but it was lying. Or it is producing. Okay, there's just some bugs in the way this works. It said it produces 50, but it actually is producing 100. It was 84% efficient at 50, and but it was getting 84% of 100 at the receiver, which is kind of funny. So this should now say like 71. Yeah, there it goes. Okay, that makes sense, even though it's wrong, I would say, but it makes sense logically, and that's all that kind of matters at this point. Slurp. No, let's go to T then. So that takes care of those two techs. I don't think we got enough for black holes yet. No, it's going to take a little while for that space science to build up. I could kick the speed up again like I was doing for most of the idle period here. But I don't know that we're going to have enough time to kind of go through all of that. And when you kick the speed up, it's the whole simulation speed. So you fly faster, everything's faster. It's not just the simulation of the factory, it's the simulation of the everything. The Wally here, everything. So, all right. I guess you are working well there. This has somewhat helped, but you see this one's stuck again. It's got a no path thing over it, but I don't know where it's no pathing to. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So, if we go here again, we can do this and send them off that are stuck again, and they'll come back eventually. And then they'll work for a little while, and then they'll fail again. So I don't know what that is, but that's for better minds than mine to find out. So unless we can get, we're not going to get to 100 space science, and I really don't know that black holes would give us anything anyway. Fusion energy would give us something to look at, but to get through another 130, basically another 100 space science in order to get there, as well as another 30 bioscience, I don't know that it's worth it at this point. And we did chew through all the aluminum, so we don't really have any more space science to do. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to call this a series. I think this is pretty good. I'm going to turn that down to less crazy numbers there. I think this went pretty well. I think we explored a good percentage of the game. And what the game has to offer, what it has, going for it. It definitely can use some work, but most games can at this stage. So I'm not complaining. I'm just telling it as I see it, kind of thing. And then in the future, hopefully we'll come back and take another look at this once there's been some updates, some additions, some changes, some whatevers, and we'll see if we can find other things that we want to focus on in that game, in that save, in that playthrough, and then we'll go from there. So thank you all for joining me for this series, and I will see you all in the future. Bye for now.